Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another segment of Asaph Cafe. This time we are on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise from Star Trek The Next Generation. Isn't that a beautiful backdrop?
It is.
And Emmett looks like he's actually sitting in the captain's
I know,
chair.
I love it.
Jean-Luc Picard's chair.
Yep.
So this is going to be fun.
Oh,
too.
it will be.
But before we start, let's have you start us off.
Heavenly Father, bless our show and our time together in the food in Jesus' name.
I'm in total agreement. So...
Wanting more of the secret ingredient.
Yeah, we gotta have that secret ingredient on the Enterprise.
Yeah, definitely. Fascinating.
Uh-huh. Oh, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be so fun.
That's why I get an extra big thing so we can have it for 2 episodes, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's fascinating.
I'll do this for you.
Oh, isn't it fascinating? I'm in the captain's chair. That means I'm temporarily captain of the Enterprise. I really am. Isn't this great?
Yeah, I never thought I'd be on the Enterprise.
No, I'm temporarily captain of the Enterprise. Isn't that fascinating, people in TV land? I'm now captain of the Enterprise.
Yeah, we'll talk about
filling in for Captain Jean-Luc Picard, so I'm temporarily in command. Isn't it fascinating? I didn't think you'd ever see that. I must be dreaming. I can't believe it's really happening.
Yeah, you're Captain Tay.
Yep. Isn't that fascinating? He must be on an away mission and put me temporarily in charge. I guess a lot of people are away because there's no one here in the bridge, but I can handle it myself, you know. Isn't it fascinating?
And that's the theme of Star Trek, the original Star Trek. So anyway, affectionately on my left, ladies and gentlemen, our aging rocker Emmett, and Emmett is going to be the captain of the Enterprise in this.
Yes.
You're going to be the captain.
Wonderful.
So if you want to be like more of the host in this episode, have at it. You're going to be the captain.
Yeah.
Emmett is sitting in the captain's chair. Jean-Luc Picard, you'll do it proud. And I am your host, Asaph Adonai, but for today, we've got Captain Emmett here.
Maybe I'll take us into a black hole and see where we come out, you know, or Stargate or something. Yep.
But this is a beautiful backdrop. This is going to be so fun. You and I are on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise.
Fascinating,
NCC 1707.
Yep.
If I remember that. Or is it 1701? No, it's 1707, I believe.
D. Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about the original. Wasn't it 1707?
Yeah,
1701. Yeah. NCC 1701.
I guess that would be B, because the other one, do you remember yesterday's Enterprise?
Yeah, I was just going to lead into that. In fact, I have
that was an
copy
excellent
of that. Let's talk about that. I have a copy of that.
It was one of my favorites.
Basically, and for the television audience that may not know, that episode, they had the Enterprise 22 years in the past.
Yes.
And 22 years ago in the past, they were fighting the Romulans in a war. Something happened while during the battle, that Enterprise of 22 years ago was plunged into the future 22 years later. So Captain Picard's ship, as you see here, saw their predecessor.
Yes.
The Enterprise
C,
I believe it was. And so, of course, the Enterprise of the future is going to check it out.
Yeah.
So they beamed the survivors from C onto D.
Yes.
And so there was this dialogue, and of course history was changed.
It was,
because of that. And the only person who was not changed was Guinan.
Yes.
Whoopi Goldberg's character. Because I guess she exists outside of time.
Yeah.
So, and she contacts Captain and says, Captain, is everything okay?
Yeah.
Because see, all of a sudden, when history was changed, the Enterprise was not a piece of
a ship of pieces, a warship.
Warship, and they were in a tremendous battle, and Starfleet was losing this battle.
Yeah.
And they were going to be conquered 6 months later. By the Romulan Empire.
By the Klingons,
Or the Klingons too. And so, to fix that, they had to send the survivors of Enterprise C back 22 years into the past. But in so doing, that they were going to not survive.
Mm-hmm.
And another plot in the twist Tasha Yar's character
Yes.
had been killed.
Mm-hmm.
So of course she's alive, and so they had to fix that too.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's
It's excellent because it's Space Wars.
that
Finally,
was
that's my type of
and it was
thing.
interesting to meet the people from the past.
Mm-hmm.
And so Tasha Yar's character, since she was a skilled fighter as far as handling the ship controls, she didn't like the way she was killed the first time, because the first time she was killed, she was just killed as an exhibition.
Yeah, yeah.
There was an alien that was trapped on. You may remember.
I remember that
There was
one.
an alien that was trapped on this planet, confined to a life of
Mm-hmm.
loneliness. And so when the original Enterprise D crew goes to that planet, they encounter this alien, and just for the heck of it, I just think I'll kill one of you.
Exactly.
So he kills Tasha Yar.
Yeah.
He zaps her, and she flips way over, and she's dead. So in this episode here, she's alive again.
Mm-hmm.
So she tells Captain Picard, I didn't like the way I was killed the first time, so if I'm going to have to
Yeah,
die,
exactly.
let me die with some meaning. So she goes back
Yeah.
with the crew
Mm-hmm.
of 22 years before to give them a fighting chance, even though they were going to lose anyway. At
Yeah.
least she could die with some dignity.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of thing. And that's just brilliant writing.
It is, actually.
That sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just such excellent writing,
In that one. A lot of them didn't have very good writing. Some of them
I
was
know,
so
I
dull.
realize. Yeah, I know. Do you remember the first episode that started the series?
You mean the Next Generation? Yes,
yeah,
that was
the
very
encounter
good with
with
the
the far
cube. Yes,
part,
that was
far
excellent.
point, yeah.
I enjoyed that one a lot. A lot, yeah. You know what's disappointing? BBC America hardly ever shows Star Trek The Next Generation. Just now Voyager. They're on a Voyager kick. Marathons of Star Trek Voyager. And I've tried to get... Yep. They wanted to change it up. And I've tried to get into Star Trek Voyager, and I just can't seem to be able to get into it. It's just not...
I think they're running
It's so
on there,
PC, just...
We'll talk about that in a moment.
Have you ever... Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, you can talk. Go
Have
ahead.
you ever noticed, though, on the bridge of this this Enterprise, The Next Generation, how much bare space and empty space there is, like here, with these panels here or in back, or just somewhere,
Yeah.
like about here. There's, and this is only the front of it, there's just so much empty space that they have. I wonder why.
Bigger ship, you gotta remember that.
That's true.
Much bigger ship than...
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah. And then up above, you could always see the stars in space. They had a big window port up in the ceiling, for lack of a better word, and you could see the stars that go going by.
Oh, yeah,
you know?
yeah. All the way through night and day.
Wonderful.
But anyway, this is really cool being on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise.
It
And
is.
Of course, we'll probably do a show in the future where we're on the bridge of the original Enterprise. But
Yes.
for now...
Yes, indeed.
Now, getting back to the pilot episode, what was interesting about that was how it introduced the characters. You remember how they introduced the Data?
Yes, they did, yes.
Data was trying to whistle that song that goes,
Yeah.
Pop Goes the Weasel.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yep.
He was whistling this,
Yep. Huh?
and he couldn't get
Yeah.
the pop part, he just couldn't get that.
Mm-hmm.
And so Riker overhears him, and then Riker finishes it, something like that. And that's how they became friends. And Riker calls him Pinocchio.
Yeah.
That was interesting. Because he was really a human. I'm not
Yeah.
human, he was really a robot, had no emotion whatsoever.
Yeah,
he
an
wasn't
android.
even seeking being human at that point.
Yes.
He was just a mechanical robot that
Yeah.
followed orders. And then they introduced, if I remember, Riker later. Remember in the middle of the episode?
Yes, they did, yes.
And they had to do that maneuver where the ship automatically connects
Yes.
the bridge and the body together, but they can also do it manually.
Mm-hmm.
So Captain Picard orders Riker to do it manually, which means they have to work the controls and
Yep.
guide that on there. And that's how they became friends. Just a test.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
I remember what I was doing exactly when I was watching that pilot episode. You see, I didn't have a VCR at the time.
Uh-huh.
So, back in the old days, 1986, you could rent one from a video store.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
For whatever reason, I couldn't hook it up to my TV, or it was broken. I was trying to record it. I didn't think there'd be VHS tapes of it or DVDs. So anyway, I was trying desperately to make it work on my poor black and white TV I had at the time, and I couldn't record it. I spent the whole 2 hours trying to record that thing. And I thought, this is a real job. I wasn't hardly paying attention to the show because I was trying so much to record it, and the VCR must have broken or something. So that was a big disappointment for me, but yeah. I was so distracted, yeah.
This is from the Peer Gynt Suite.
Oh, yes. Isn't that called In the Hall of the Mountain King?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Lawrence Welk played that one time, yep. Yeah, but yeah, I was very disappointed I couldn't record it. Now you can get it on DVD, the first season, just about anything of Star Trek, but back then you couldn't, you know. And I didn't have a VCR, just had a black and white TV, you know, just...
Yeah. But,
Or was it 87? Was it 86 or 87 that it premiered? I can't remember. No, I think it was 86.
It might have been even sooner than that.
I think it was 86,
1985 or whatever.
No, it wasn't 1985, I remember, because I had moved in to my apartment for the first time that year, and I think it was 1986 around December or something.
Yeah, You're right, I think it was.
Could have even been 1987, I'm not sure. No, I think it was 1987, sorry. It wasn't 86, I remember. It was 87, yes.
I'm sorry, but...
It was 1987 September, I remember. And when I first saw that, I was at a friend of mine's home where the Star Trek The Next Generation, they had the commercials for it. I didn't even know they were going to make one, and I just went, fascinating! A new Star Trek series!
We got that other one coming out this year, too. You know.
Yep, I can't wait.
I think by fall this year. So...
And of course, that theme you just played was actually from Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just added that and redid a little bit for Star Trek.
I think that was clever, you know, so that they don't have to come up with
I think it is.
Song. I think that was very, very clever.
Yeah, it was.
That. But getting back to Star Trek: The Motion Picture, they have some beautiful.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Here, let's have fun with that.
Yes. Leah's theme. Yeah, I have the soundtrack on record. I have the recorded sound on record. Yep. I have a record player. Oh, the soundtrack is so beautiful, folks.
It is.
When I was a kid, I first got it in 1980. I'd play it over and over and over and over and over again. It's beautiful music. It's majestic. I remember even my teacher let me bring in a recording of that so I could have something to listen to while doing the math problems because it helped me relax.
See if I can figure that out. Let me try to figure it out.
It helped me relax so I could do math problems. I remember that. Isn't that fascinating, folks? Yeah, that was actually my favorite of the Star Trek movies. Star Trek: The Motion Picture. And remember, it got panned. A lot of fans did not like that movie.
Yeah, Roger and Gene Siskel, Roger Ebert didn't care for it either.
Yeah, I loved it.
What I liked about it, it was just cool to see the actors. They were a tad bit older, but not old. It was good to see them again. It had beautiful music, and I thought it had an interesting plot line, basically. And we've talked about this before, where there was a probe 300 years in the past called Voyager 6 that was sent into space. And its mission was to collect data. And as it was going through the heavens and the universe for centuries, it had collected so much information that it became a living machine. And so it decided it was going to go back to the planet Earth and look for its creator.
Yeah, fascinating.
So, and that's an interesting line, looking for its creator.
Yeah, fascinating, yeah.
And so the lettering of Voyager 6 smeared off, so the computer was... That's where they got the name Voyager, because some of the letters like Voyager, Voyager, was smeared off. And so Voyager was looking for its creator. Voyager gets to Earth, can't find its creator because they didn't have the... You know, when it sent the signal saying it was ready to transmit the information, nobody on Earth could recognize it because radios were outdated and the signal was outdated, so they had to go back and figure all that out, which Kirk does. So it was just an interesting.
Yeah.
I think some of the reasons why people probably didn't like it as much, I think they were expecting what the series.
Yeah.
Beaming down the planet.
Oh, yeah.
Having all that action instead of just being in space. And
Yep.
I think it dragged out in some areas too, and stuff like that.
I like the fact that it dragged out because it's so symphonic, so beautifully.
It was just nice, and I did enjoy the music. And even when I'm practicing at home, every once in a while I put that movie on.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's fantastic. Because the thing is, they had so much new technology back then for that Enterprise and new special effects that it was just beautiful to watch. Even when Mr. Spock docked onto the Enterprise with his small shuttle. It's just the small shuttle, whatever it is, flipped over and did a bunch of maneuvers, and it was incredible to look at, Had the beautiful music like that, and it's like, wow!
Mm-hmm. Beautiful song.
I like that bridge of that Enterprise on Star Trek The Motion Picture, too. Very futuristic. I liked it even better than this set, actually, on Next Generation. It just looked more futuristic, somehow more complicated.
Yeah, I can see that.
I just loved it.
But for now, we're on the bridge of this Enterprise here, Enterprise D. So
I wonder if they had sun chaps on the Enterprise.
They do now. At least on this version of Asaph Cafe, they have it.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah, it's a beautiful backdrop.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the actress that played. Oh God, I'm brain dead now. I can't think of her name. Lieutenant Ilea. Her name was Persis Kambata in real life. That was her name. She's from India. She was born in Bombay. They don't have that name in that country anymore. And how she got picked up as a little girl. I did an Asaph story on her. There was a little girl. There was a photographer that was friends with her family, and they captured some pictures of Persis as a little girl, and they entered it into a contest, and it wound up winning as a little child. So she was doing these series of commercials for soap, hand soap in that part of the world. And that's what kind of started the whole thing for her. And she's the first Indian actress to really make it, one of the first to really make it in Hollywood. And that was groundbreaking, especially for people in that part of the world, that country at that time. And she did some bit parts in movies and things in Hollywood, which led to her playing Lieutenant Ilea on Star Trek.
Interesting.
That's kind of a synopsis of her beginning. And then when she wrote her memoirs, the proceeds of her book went to Mother Teresa's charity.
No, wonderful.
And that was a wonderful thing. And, Mother Teresa, talking about her, she spent her whole life helping people.
Yep.
Mother Teresa, what a delightful
lady.
She
was wonderful, yeah.
She reached out to the poor. She spent her entire life helping the poor in India. And not just India, but all around the world, which was a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it was.
I did a story
incredible.
on her, too. And I don't remember the name of the organization. I think it was Sisters of Charity, I think was the name of the organization. So when Persis' book came out, the proceeds of her book went to help fund that charity. And that's a wonderful thing to do that. But Mother Teresa, what a delightful lady. And she wasn't known for her preaching, but I had read transcripts through the Billy Graham organization about her and her beliefs. And she believed in Jesus Christ as her Savior, too, and the cross.
Yep. She was a Catholic.
Well, I realize that, but I'm just saying that she always, whenever they would get into some theological stuff, which wasn't something she did often because she wasn't known for that. And I read these in transcript form. She talked about the cross and stuff like that. The same thing that you've talked about on past shows, not only on this show, but your own shows.
Yes.
So. But she left the world. What a wonderful legacy.
Oh, yeah. She's now, I think she is Saint Mother Teresa. Now she's been sainted,
I think so. And, but can you imagine spending your entire life
amazing,
reaching out to people? And I guess if you're going to do that, India would probably be a place to...
It was, oh, yeah.
And I don't mean that, I'm not making light of that. There's just so much poverty.
Yeah, there is.
In places like India, and it's just really sad. I wish I could just wave a magic wand and help these people.
I know.
But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. You have to do it, evangelize, as they say, personalize, one-on-one. And Mother Teresa would be... And I've seen videos of her holding sick infant babies that were weak to older people that were just so physically frail because they hadn't eaten and stuff. Just heartwarming. So she must have lit up heaven when
she did.
When the Lord called her home. But I guess that sister's charity is still doing it.
Yeah, it is.
But you don't seem to hear about them much anymore.
No, you don't.
Mother Teresa's gone. But what a great legacy that lady left. She left one of the greatest legacies in history, as far as I'm concerned. And she always reached out to the poor. And like when money started coming her way, she would divert that to the poor.
Yep.
Stuff like that. And they did a movie about her life too, which I thought was interesting. They did several movies of her life. But she used her celebrity well.
Yeah, she did, yeah.
It was an unintended celebrity. I don't think she woke up and said, "Hey, I'm going to be a nun. I'm going to be famous." It just when it came on her, she used it well. Like giving speeches at the United Nations to, about birth control. That didn't sit well with some of the people in the
it would not. No,
the lawmakers or whatever in the United Nations. But she had a message and it worked. Because who's going to mess with a nun? I mean, you got to have a heart of stone. And she was like 4 feet tall or something like that. Just a sweetheart of a woman. So I just wish the world could have more people like her.
Definitely.
But what a great legacy she left. So we can be on in the future on the Enterprise, you and the captain's chair, talking about Mother Teresa.
Yeah, speaking of great saints, well, he hasn't been sainted yet. I was just reading a little bit of him. He was another Catholic I consider saint. He hasn't been sainted or blessed yet, so I'm leaving up to the authority of the church, though there are congregation commissions asking for the cause. He is very little known. He's Matty Stepanek. He was a child.
Boy. I remember him.
Yeah, who was suffering from muscular dystrophy. He was on the muscular dystrophy telephones a lot.
I remember him, yeah.
Well, he wrote a lot of beautiful poetry called heart songs about love and peace and God's grace, and he did a lot of drawings. He was a devout Catholic himself, but he tried to be a peace activist in his own way and help other people and inspire other people. His poetry was just so beautiful. It was written in heaven, It was incredible. A heart song to him, I kind of got confused, but it was whatever you want to do that is good in life. Not evil, but good things in life. What you would want to be, like maybe a mother or a father or a firefighter or someone who actually helps people. Something good, a beautiful message, not an evil one.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And
what was he, about 12 or something?
He was 13 when he died, almost 14.
Yeah.
But he started writing them when he was 5 years old, and he wanted this published, and he went on Oprah Winfrey, and he was incredible.
Oprah episode.
But he had a lot of suffering. He suffered so much because he had such a rare form of MDA, muscular dystrophy. Michael mitochondria, something or other. Basically, it was so rare. It's basically where the autonomic systems like heart, breathing, digestion doesn't work. Your heart doesn't work because you're breathing. We always breathe automatically. It fails. Sometimes your heart or would do automatic things and not, or your lungs would cut off. Then that sends confused signals to your brain and then to your nervous system, and your whole body starts shutting down very painfully, up and down. It can really, really mess up a person. Most people don't live for very long. But he was in and out of the hospital constantly, but finally died in peace. And he wrote these wonderful, books and poetry, and it's like, wow. He's little known. Unfortunately, most of his books now are out of print. His little poetry, his poetry.
They could probably reinstate them, or however the publishing companies do that. But yeah, you're right. He left quite a
legacy.
I know that little boy suffered a lot, and speaking of that. When I look at my life, I've relatively been blessed with health.
Yeah, same here.
And here's where I'm going with this. This is one of those why questions that we can't answer. Why is it that somebody like Asaph can be blessed with health, and this little boy suffer? I have never walked those shoes. I'll probably never. I know I'm going to eventually die. I understand that we're all going to eventually die, but my point is I don't think I'll ever suffer like that. But when I was younger, that really puzzled me. Why is this? Why is there such an imbalance You know what I'm saying? Or inequity is a better word.
Yeah.
Why is this life is? And I heard Dr. Adrian Rogers. He's a famous preacher of the past. He said this: that in life there's so many inequities. Whether it's a simple thing like physical beauty, like he said, an inequity is a physical beauty. Some people are blessed with tremendous looks, physiques, women, men, so on, and others aren't. There's the inequities of economics, the haves and the have-nots. There's those who have health and those who don't. Those whose bodies are working perfectly and those whose bodies seem to not function as well.
Yeah.
And those are just mysteries in this existence to me.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm almost 60 years old now, and I still can't answer that. But it bothered me more when I was younger, because when I was a kid growing up, you know how you grow up in a certain world, you think that whole world is like what you're accustomed to.
Yeah.
And then you get out there and you get older, you get into junior high and high school, you realize everybody's different. People from different backgrounds, families, settings when they're raised, and you see all this inequities.
Yeah.
And where I'm going with this story is, it used to really bother me. Why there was so much suffering, why so many inequities as we're talking about. And those are just mysteries in life. You know?
Yeah.
We can't say, at least I'm no theologian, I can't sit there and say, well, this is the reason why. We don't know.
Exactly.
I don't think we know. That is something I think you just have to have faith in God. This is where I found peace. Instead of Asaph trying to figure those questions out, just say, hey, I've got to leave that in God's hands.
Exactly.
There are a lot of mysteries that we'll never know, probably this side of life, You probably have to wait to get to heaven to find out.
I know.
I don't know. And I think that when you see, like, babies, like, say, in the African continent, suffering with the flies and stuff,
Yes.
God is probably sitting on his throne crying.
Oh, absolutely.
And these are just, like I said, mysteries that we don't know. You just have to have faith. And some people just have a real hard time with that concept. They say, why does God allow evil? God is not allowing evil.
Exactly.
It just, evil is part of this existence.
Because the fall of Adam.
Yeah, I know, I realize that. And I was going to comment, some people have a real issue with that concept. Yes. And I've learned in life that when they have an issue with that, just don't debate. Just back off. Because you're not going to change them anyway in 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that. If you go by the, I want to say, theological of why there's suffering, when God created everything, there was no suffering.
Exactly.
Adam and Eve made a bad choice, which plunged all of creation along with that bad choice. It's like that, they made this choice, everything changed. Nature changed, animal kingdom changed, people changed, the aging process that started.
Yep.
Everything changed, and that brought suffering and death and sin into the world, as Romans talks about. But see, some people can't accept that.
I know.
So where I'm going with this is when this comes up, when people say to me why, I'm not going to get into the biblical part because they're not going to accept it anyway. I just take the approach of, not that I'm dogging on the biblical don't believe. I just say you have to leave that up to the Lord.
Yep.
And in that way, that solves peace. Because, like, let's say somebody lost their 5-year-old or their 3-year-old. I think the last thing they're going to want to hear is that Adam and Eve made a mistake, which I think that's not going to solve the problem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Even if it's the truth. I mean, sometimes I just think it's just better to just be cool sometimes, depending, Because, you and I have never had kids.
Yeah.
So if there's a loved one that's lost a 2-year-old, you can't say,
well, absolutely,
I understand how you feel.
You can never do that. That's so insensitive.
Yeah, or just say, well, Adam and Eve sinned in the garden. Blah, blah,
well,
blah.
yeah, that's...
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even if it's the truth,
yeah,
I think you have to use tact. It just seems very insensitive to tell a grieving mother.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why when I get in those situations, which is not a lot, I just say, just have to leave it up to the Lord. But It's still a mystery.
Yeah, what's his name? Matty Stepanek was commenting that on Larry King because he was asked. He brought that up. He sometimes said, "Why me, Lord? Why am I suffering this way? Why does it have to be me?" But then he said, "Well, maybe me, but maybe why not me? I mean, better me than a kid that already has stress in his life, or better me than maybe a baby." Who wouldn't understand it and couldn't deal with it. And maybe so I sometimes think, why me? And then I realize, well, why not me? That was Maddie's answer.
Yeah. But you and I have never walked those shoes. And there are people in this life, well, it's a fact, that will probably never suffer like Maddie
Stepanek, yeah, absolutely. Because agony, just
and those
being in the hospital,
and that's
constant
what I'm
painful.
talking about the mysteries of life. And see where I'm going with this part of this conversation is, me personally, I don't take life for granted. I don't take my health for granted. I don't take God for granted.
Correct.
I say, Lord, I don't deserve this blessing.
Yeah.
But I'm giving thanks because nobody wants to suffer like he did. Obviously, that's human. And where I'm going with this too is it's enough incentive to help you to live right.
It is, yes.
If you're blessed with this health and not have to suffer like Maddie did. So, those kind of inequities in life keeps me on a straight path.
Exactly. Don't ruin it by doing drugs or something. Yeah.
Yeah, or just appreciate what I've been blessed and given, and just live right. Treat your neighbors right.
Yeah, exactly.
Live right. Live clean.
Exactly.
Don't brag. Don't boast.
Exactly.
Don't put yourself above other. Oh, I'm better than this person.
Because you're not. No one is.
Yeah, because if at the foot of the cross,
we're all equal. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's all. I don't care. If you
we're
got
all redeemed.
Yeah. You got $1 million in your pocket.
Yeah.
That will make a bit of difference. That's not going to impress the Lord. Oh, you got $1 million, and this guy has $20.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Probably reach out to the guy with a $20 bill more than the guy with $1 million.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Because God's thinking, and this is something I had to learn. His thinking processes are not like
exactly
mine or like ours. And that doesn't mean he doesn't love the person with $1 million. It's just in our culture, usually we tend to reach out to the guy who has more.
Yeah, it's horrible. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I know this is human nature, but God is different. But with the inequities in life, this is why I appreciate what I have.
Exactly.
And stuff like that. And there are people out there that have way more, say, financially, economically, materially than you and I will probably ever have.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know what I've learned in life, which is cool? When I see someone that has way more than I do, instead of getting my nose bent out of shape, I can get joy by their success.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it does.
Like when you see how some person is really blessed, I can get joy by seeing what they have and how they're blessed. And it helps me.
Exactly.
And instead of the other way around, well, I wish I had that, blah blah blah. Well, I mean, we all wish that, but there's a difference between that and being angry about it.
Yes, exactly.
So, like, when I see couples that have babies, and I'm at the store, I'm playing somewhere, and they got their 2-year-old, and I'm like, oh, cute little baby. And I can get a lot of joy out of that, as though that were my kid, in a sense, for that moment.
Exactly.
I can rejoice in their blessing.
Exactly.
And then that brings me a joy, and it brings me. I know that probably doesn't make sense, but
makes sense to me. Yes.
It brings me a pleasure when I see how happy others are.
Yep.
Or when I see the blessings others have that I don't have.
And that's a good virtue. That's a good virtue to practice because that's the opposite of envy.
Yeah, I know.
Envy is grieving over another's success, spiritual, whatever.
Well,
so that's the opposite of envy. That's a good virtue to practice.
Dr. Adrian Rogers said that's the best way to handle that.
Yeah.
Rejoice.
Yeah.
With those who are rejoicing. Weep
with those who weep. Yes.
Yeah, and so on. And I'm gonna tell you, there's nothing wrong with material blessings.
Right.
Let's face it. There are some people who really, really are blessed. Like you hear these stories of these guys going out on these yachts.
Oh yeah,
out in the Bahamas somewhere.
Yeah, the '80s had a show like that.
Yeah,
Lifestyle for the rich and famous. Oh yeah,
and they don't have to worry about some hoodlum trying to get.
Yeah.
And I'm not picking on hoodlums, but my goodness, I mean, it's just I guess what I'm saying, it's amazing how some people live in this life. They get up in the morning, they're sitting on a 40-foot yacht,
Yeah.
enjoying the sun. And it's, but see, where I'm going with that too is the Lord doesn't love them any less.
Yeah, exactly.
The reality is, I don't think God has favorites.
No.
It's just, the Lord knows that in this side of life, there's so much inequity. But when we get to the other side, it's going to all be balanced out even, in my opinion.
Yep.
But it's just interesting. I have to admit, I've had fun watching people, whether it's on television or real life or something, that just, like, when I had my card, I had a friend of mine, and we used to drive into these really exclusive neighborhoods on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd go like 2 or 3 miles an hour and just look at these beautiful houses these people lived in. And it was just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, we're not talking a little house like around a corner, like where most people, we're talking about these, like, huge, like, mansion-type houses. They have, like, neighborhoods, or there's one mansion here, there's another one here. And I used to go into neighborhoods like that and just drive around, and just enjoy these houses and look. And they're just ordinary people,
Yep.
In fact, I have a friend of mine, I haven't seen him in years. I think he was a dentist or so he has one of those, like, high quality jobs, and he happened to live in one of those neighborhoods, and he invited me over one weekend. I stayed a weekend over there, and it was so cool. See how the other half lives, as that old saying goes. You know? But they're just ordinary people. This was a Christian family, by the way.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about Christians to me is, when you meet Christians that have prosperity as far as wealth, it's no big deal to them. It's like, just God gave this to me, and we know we're not deserving of it, and it doesn't like go to their head. They just like live normal life. They change in diapers and stuff. They just have to change diaper in a big fancy kitchen or bathroom or something. Oh, speaking of that, we're gonna do a cafe in Liberace's home.
Wonderful. That'd be a great idea.
A picture of that. Oh my goodness, wait till we do that.
I can't
have
wait
to show you that picture too. And speaking of Liberace, he was an amazing personality.
Yeah, he was.
This is a man that was blessed beyond most people.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. I mean, this is a man that when he would sleep at night and look at his ceiling and have these, the Sixteen Chapel or whatever it is, Michelangelo's drawings on the roof of his bedroom. Well, duplicate it, not the whole thing. But I guess, in a sense, we'll all live like that one day.
In heaven, yes.
In heaven, But it's mind-boggling when you see some rare few people like Liberace who get to live this lavish lifestyle.
Yes.
And from what I read about him, I don't think it went to his head at all. He spent his whole life helping a lot of people. In fact, I saw a photograph of Liberace when he was younger in his heyday, and this was in a hospital. They had a patient. I don't know what was wrong with the patient. It was probably like Maddie. They had this patient on a stretcher flipped upside down in this photograph so that the person strapped was looking down, and Liberace had a piano right next to this person and gave this person a one-on-one concert.
Wonderful.
Whoever this person, I mean, we're talking the whole. Now, of course, they can't have a band because it's in a hospital, so it was just Liberace playing the piano by himself with this person, whoever it was, hanging upside down on this gurney, strapped in, obviously. So maybe this person broke their neck, I don't know, but he gave this individual a one-on-one concert. And see where I'm going with that story is that's a beautiful thing. I think that he spent his life reaching out to people and helping a lot of people. He just did it the opposite spectrum of Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa did it from the physical poverty structure, where Liberace did it from the rich side. But see, when it's all said and done at the foot of the cross, it won't make any difference. One can't say they're better than the other, kind of. It's just, it evens out.
Yeah. One thing I'm against, though, the prosperity gospel.
No, I'm not talking about the prosperity gospel. I'm not talking about that.
Yeah.
That's a total different thing. I think that you can smell the smoke of hell on those. And I'm not here to dog on people.
I agree.
But think about it. I mean, when you get these ministers on television talking about send us your cloth, or send us this money. We'll send you and you'll get a Cadillac and all that nonsense.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not what the gospel
It is not, no.
And that display, I think that's a dangerous doctrine because
It is.
it plays into people's desires.
It does, yes.
And you have to be very careful.
They quote the Bible, but they misquote what Jesus said.
They're misquoting it to make it sound like you're going to get riches. Well, we're going to eventually get riches, but that's in heaven.
That is in heaven, yes.
And plus, we'll be changed so that when we get those riches, the sin aspect won't be there.
Right.
But in the meantime, if somebody has wealth here, I think it depends on how you use it. Whatever your talent is, whether it's sports or music, dancing, acting, I think it depends on how you use it.
Yeah.
And what you do with it, you know. And getting back to Liberace, I think he used his wealth. Yeah, he bought these outrageous stuff. I understand that. And I don't think that's wrong in and of itself. And I have to admit, it was always fun. Like, okay, this man's going to be on TV. What kind of crazy outfit is this man going to wear next?
Yeah.
And it was always interesting when you watched him on stage because he would get up to the front where the audience is and let the audience feel the jackets and the diamonds and get a really good look. And that just spread a lot of joy in a sense too. Stuff like that.
A lot of people don't have a lot of talents though, but they can still pray. Even if you don't have any talents, you can still pray. I'm kind of always upset by the sermons. You know, I don't mind. It's important to when Jesus talked about the 10 talents, he wasn't talking about music or being an astronaut. It was more about grace, not talents. A lot of us don't have any talents at all. We can barely get ourselves out of bed in the morning. All we can do is pray. If we have no talents, we don't have any talents to use. A lot of people are not gifted with talents. It's that simple. But we all have the grace of God we can use and pray. Talents was a measure of money or a measure of grace that God giving, not talents like music or videoscaping or whatever it is. You know, that's unfortunately our culture looks at talent. You've got to be talented. America's got talent. Well, a lot of us don't have any talent, you know.
Well, I think the majority of people technically don't. But see, it doesn't put anyone above another in the eyes of God.
Exactly.
And I use that approach too. I always be careful not to exalt my own self.
Exactly.
And I'm sure others too. You know, I think the humility approach, it honors God and it honors people.
Yeah.
If you have a talent and you're sticking out and you're sharing that, I think that's a wonderful thing. And that's what Liberace did.
And if you don't have any talents, you can always pray and still glorify God. If you have no talents or whatever, a lot of people don't, you know.
Yeah. So that's how I look at it. But when I saw that photograph of him giving that one-on-one concert at the hospital, and this was obviously in a hospital room or surgical room or something, and he had doctors in the photograph too, but you could clearly see him. There was like a close-up, and you see the candelabra, and it was a beautiful picture of him reaching out to a person that was suffering through music. Very beautiful picture, and he spent his whole life doing that. And I've heard stories of him buying outlandish gifts for people that otherwise would normally never get it was out of their reach. You know, stuff like that. And the joy he brought with his concerts and all that. Just fun, you know? Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. Let me see if I can think. The Muppet Show.
Oh, I never liked that show.
You never liked The Muppet Show?
No, I never did.
Well, they had this one episode. Well, you may be familiar with some of the characters of the Muppet Show.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't stand it, though. I thought this is so stupid. I couldn't stand it. Especially Miss Piggy made me ill. Or Miss Piggy in space. Like, what is this? Well,
the original Muppet Show, they had this episode where Liberace was doing a concert dedicated to the birds. It was the cutest video. And he was playing all that fancy stuff with his fancy clothes. And they had like these life-size birds, like Big Bird and Little Birds and Muppet characters all around the piano singing while he was playing and stuff. And I just thought that was so cute. A concert dedicated to the birds. Here's where I'm going with the story. After he finished playing, he did a nocturne. In fact, it was this song here. Remember the song? I won't do the whole one. This is called the Nocturne in F sharp. Chopin. Isn't that beautiful? I'm going with that's a short version. They had like these bunch of birds were doing these little dance like ballet moves while he was playing that nocturne. And then at the end of that, the serious part of that, when it started getting silly again, Sam the bird comes up, oh, Mr. Liberace, thank you for playing that nocturne. It was so nice. But I'm worried, sir. And Liberace says, why are you worried? I thought you liked culture. I played the nocturne, Chopin nocturne for the birds, dedicated to the birds. Yes, I know that, but I know your work too, sir. And I know this show too, sir. And it follows as night follows day that soon you will be wearing a rhinestone tuxedo and playing shameless boogie woogie. Mm-hmm. And Liberace says, I promise you I won't be doing that soon. I'm going to do it right now. And he starts doing this boogie woogie stuff. And Sam's going like this.
Hilarious, yep.
And his costume changed. It went from this one outrageous costume to this more bigger outrageous costume. He's doing this boogie woogie stuff, something, you know.
Yeah.
It was just so funny. And Sam just... Poor old Sam. So it was... I know not everybody probably liked the Muppet Show, but I thought that was one of the cutest skits.
Oh, yeah. I just couldn't get into the Muppet Show for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, I know. I realize that.
Some I like this. Yeah.
And speaking of the Muppet Show, this whole hour has just gone by.
Mm-hmm.
That's something. Mm-hmm. But to sum this episode up, I wanted to say thanks for being part of this second Asaph Cafe on the Bridge of the Enterprise, and we covered a lot of topics on this version here. But you know, how can I think of some final words here? I take one day at a time, and I feel blessed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every day when I wake up. In fact, I start every day with a prayer.
Same here.
I listen to your network of praise on NOP Radio. I think I told this story.
Yeah.
And they have what's called a 1 minute prayer, like around 9:30 in the morning. People will call in, send in emails in advance, and then they pray over these, and they just start the day. And I just think that's a wonderful. And so what I do is I just kneel in front of the radio because it's only like a minute long. They'll just go over the prayer requests.
Wonderful.
Thank God for another day, and they'll throw a couple of Bible verses and things like that. And it's just a great way to start the day. But see where I'm going with this is I just thank God every day for a new day.
Yeah.
And I feel blessed when I get to do fun things like this Asaph Cafe.
Yeah.
You and I did the Gong Show, and now we're on the Bridge of the Enterprise, and this is cool.
Yeah.
No, I was going to ask you, you've never been to Universal Studios tour?
No, I never have.
Well, you know, they have like the real Enterprise Bridge where you can actually tour it.
Wow. Incredible.
The chairs, stuff like that. It's just fun.
Wow, incredible.
Bring it to light. Any final jokes you want to say? While we're on the Bridge of the Enterprise?
Yes. Let's see. There were these 2 washing machines, and they saw a coffee cup they wanted to splash in. But then the coffee cup started to smile, so they got mad and left. I'm running out of surreal jokes.
That's all right. There'll be somebody who's never heard it before, so don't worry about the repeat thing. Well, anyway, this has been fun. This is Asaph Cafe over on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise, Enterprise D. Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Has the hour gone past already, or?
Not yet. It's about to. We'll sign off. Don't worry. But anyway, this is the Enterprise, and affectionately on my left, our aging rocker Emmett, where he's sitting in the captain's chair. He is the captain of today's episode, Captain Emmett of the Starship Enterprise. That's a great way to end.
Definitely.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in, and until our next show, Maranatha. What a great way to end this show, the Enterprise. We do Captain John Luke Picard proud.
Thanks.
So make yourself at home. I'll shut everything down, make a copy of this, and as the time goes by, as I told the audience, we'll be doing more backdrops.
Wonderful.